Hey there everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to dive into one of the core parts of my channel, at least what I wanted my channel to be, which is talking about transitioning as a fat trans man as opposed to an average weight or a skinny trans man, which is what you usually see on YouTube and on the internet, but I don't see a lot of myself represented. So I wanted to make this channel to, start that conversation and be that person for other fat trans men who, want someone to relate to. So we're finally going to dive into something that's specifically fat, overweight, bigger related. We're going to talk about the differences between an average weight trans man transitioning and an overweight trans man transitioning. And there are a few big differences that I feel are not touched on enough. And I wish that, more people would be open about that stuff. More people who, I know there are other fat trans people, trans men specifically, because I've seen them on like selfie posts and on Reddit. But no one really talks about, the experience and how it's different from an average weight trans man's experience. So I want to preface this by saying that my experiences are my own, and there are trans men with different body types who are overweight who don't face the same issues that I do because their body type and their body shape are different. And I want people to know that this is not universal, and if you are an overweight or a fat trans man and you experience these things differently, then I'm not trying to invalidate you. I'm just saying this is my experience. But if you have had a different experience and would like to share that experience, please share it in the comments. I would love to hear about it. And if you have any tips or, tricks that I don't know about, that I don't touch on, let me know. Let everyone know in the comments. And let's get started. Let's talk about the chest. It's the big thing, right? Like, bigger people usually have more breast tissue, and I am included in that. I have size H's. Last time I got, measured by Lane Bryant, I had H's, and I believe that because, oh my gosh, finding a binder that will do anything for me is almost impossible. I haven't tried shapeshifters. I'm thinking of giving them a shot, but my Underworks and my GC2B binders, I'm a 5X in GC2B, and it compresses, it flattens it, but it's like I have C cups now instead of H's, and you can tell that I'm AFAB. You can tell that I have female presenting boobs, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not going to double bind. That's bad. I'm not going to do that. But also, like, is it even worth binding if I'm not going to, if it's not going to help me pass, why would I even bother? I don't bind hardly ever unless I'm doing some sort of cosplay or something. I don't see the use for it. It's going to hurt my back. It's going to hurt my chest. And there's just too much mass here. There's just too much mass that you can't compress it any more than a certain amount. And no matter what I do, it's never going to be enough to help me pass. And I know that, overweight men, cis men, often have more breast tissue, just because of fat distribution. And I would be okay with having like moobs, like little boobs, little man boobs, that are in proportion to my weight. That would be fine. But not these. I'm not really a fan of these. And I cannot wait to get rid of them. Oh my gosh, that's another thing I'm going to talk about later in this video, is like getting top surgery as a fat trans man has some hurdles. But for the most part, binding, I don't see a point to it. Once you get to a certain cup size, once you, like, if maybe there are trans men who have less dense boobs. Like, I don't think my boobs are that dense, and some people don't call them boobs, but that's how I call them. I'm perfectly fine with calling them boobs. But if people have bigger or smaller cup sizes, they could be denser or less dense, and it could be easier or harder for them to bind. But for me specifically, I'm a 5X in GC2B. I cannot get any higher, and I'm not going to downsize because I don't want to hurt myself. So there's nothing I can do. I don't bind because there's no point. And I understand that it can help people with dysphoria. It can really alleviate dysphoria, but for me, the pain outweighs the benefit, because there is no benefit. It just, my roommate told me, like, your breasts look smaller, but it looks like you're binding. Like, you can tell. It doesn't look flat. It doesn't look masculine. It doesn't look like it would help you pass. It would be, you would look at this person and be like, that person is binding their breasts. So I don't really see the point in it, but your mileage may vary. Clothing is another issue. Now, just finding clothes in my size is difficult. Often I have to order online. DXL is great. Like, I get all my button downs from DXL. I wish that there were other places that carried 5Xs and even 4Xs, but DXL is great. But like, one shirt is like $20. Like, one button up is $20, and I can splurge on that occasionally, but not all the time. And pants, again, I spend good money on a good pair of jeans like once a year. So it's so much harder for fat people in general to find clothing that fits, and quality clothing that fits. Like, you can buy a 4X at Walmart, but like, how long is it gonna last? Like, so many of my women's pants I have ruined with the rubbing in between my legs. Like, it wears that shit down. And I find that at least with men's clothes, it doesn't do that as quickly, which is nice. But still, just finding clothes in my size is difficult and expensive. Even if it were like easier, it's still freaking expensive. But I find that, you know, the rule that, like, in order to hide your chesticles, you would wear like uneven pattern shirts. And that was my rule. Like, when I first started ordering button-ups, I was just like, I'm only going to get uneven patterns. No checks, no plaids, no stripes and stuff like that. I'm just going to get weird shit. And I have like a lime and margarita button-up that's like my favorite thing. And it's just, it's cute. I mean, it's cute. I think it's cute. But like, it's not going to hide anything. There's no way. It's not going to hide your hips. Like, oh, how do you hide hips that are like this wide? Like, there's a certain point that it gets to where there's not much that you can do about passing anymore. There's no passing. There's no hiding things. There's no pretending that things aren't there. They're very, very noticeable. Like my hips and my boobs and my soft little face. It was a very soft face. And it's frustrating because sometimes I have the money. Like, when I got my first stimulus, I'm like, I'm gonna get something nice. I'm gonna treat myself. But I could buy like 2 items of clothing. Like, 2. Not saying that like clothing is like $700, but like, I hate capitalism is what I'm saying. But like, yeah, any clothing tips that they give you for trans men, for like passing and stuff, and how to pick jeans, and like what the waist size compared to hip size, you know, should you cinch up with a belt and stuff like that, like, doesn't really apply. So yeah, fuck that. There's a lot of content online about like finding clothes as a trans man when you're too small for extra small. That's the thing. Like I look so prepubescent because of my slight frame that like I can fit in boys' clothes instead of like the men's section, or like extra small is still too large. And like I understand the frustration. But you can go to the boys section. You can do that. And to say that like people who are shamed for being skinny, it's a thing, but it's not a systemic thing. Like, there are accommodations for skinny people. There are not accommodations for fat people. So to say that it's the same, that's a whole other video. I'm not going to get into that. But like, it's hard when you see people like, oh, I can't find clothes in my size. How to find clothes in your size as a trans man? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, boys section. And I'm like, that is the opposite of what I need. Anyway, another thing is that, you know, I don't see that many people nowadays, like just in general, but from what I've experienced, men tend to wear their pants when they have a belly bulge. They wear it under their belly, like, but they also don't have hips. So like my hips are up here, and so it would go over my hips and then it would go under my belly, and it would just be this weird like U shape. And but like, because men's hips are different, cis men's hips are different, it works for them. And I find that I get dysphoria sometimes when I'm wearing my pants straight across, because that's what's comfortable. That's how I wear my underwear. That's how I've always worn my pants. It's comfortable for me. And I've tried to wear it under my belly just to see like if that would help me pass or anything. It's uncomfortable, and no, it doesn't help me pass. Like, I imagine that if fat redistribution, like, adjusted my hips and stuff, maybe it would work. But also, why? Like, it's uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. And I don't know if men feel like they have to do it, or men feel like it looks weird when they do it all the way up at the top, or I don't know. If you're a cis guy, why do you do it? Tell me why you do it. I'm interested. And I don't know, it gives me a little dysphoria when I can't, you know, pull that look off, even if I'm not really, you know, I don't really like that look, but, you know, anything to pass, you know what I mean? But that's clothing in general, guys. There's this whole thing online, and I've seen tutorials and I've seen graphics and stuff about masculine face contouring. It started in the cosplay community, and now it's gotten into, you know, passing. And also, it's also good for drag. I've done it a couple of times for drag, and like, it didn't really work because, like, you know what I mean? Like, the chiseled jaw, how do you do that? Like, how, it's supposed to go like this? Like, I don't get it. It doesn't work for me. And I know that, like, it doesn't work for everyone's face shape. I've heard people talking about, but it's just, you know, my face is weird. It does weird shit. I can't really do that contouring. But like, nobody even talks about round, chubby faces and like how to make them more masculine. I know they're like the roundest thing. Like, there's only so many angles you can give to a face like this. But it's still disheartening that like nobody has even taken that into account. Like, what if your face doesn't have a specific jawline? Like, ooh, I got a nice contour right there. But like, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. So, cosplay community, drag community, get on that, you know? Figure something out, let me know. Thanks. One of my biggest pet peeves in general is when you're looking to like practice self-love or self-care or do nice stuff for yourself, and like how to feel better, and like, especially in the trans community, how to pass more, how to feel more comfortable in your body. And everyone says, lose weight, eat right, that'll help. And I'm like, in the long term, you are correct. It will help. But I feel bad now. I am in a bad place now. I hate myself now, and what would your tips be for someone at my weight now? Like in the future, I'm sure that those things will help. And I'm sure that I can get to a certain point where my body feels better and I feel better and I like my body better. But right now, I would love to know how to feel and look better and be more comfortable in my body as a 360-pound person. Okay? How do I feel good now? I'm exhausted. Like, trying to find, everyone's like, if you're overweight, lose weight, like, exercise will help. And as someone with fibromyalgia, exercise helps a little bit with the pain, but like, also not to get into anything, but my knees and my feet are fucked up. And I can't do everything. Like, if someone says yoga one more time, I know that's a stereotype, but if someone says yoga one more fucking time, I am digressing. I have a lot of feelings about this subject. But, like, I should be able to feel good now. I deserve to feel good in my body, however my body looks. I deserve that as a human being, as a person. I deserve that, and so do you. Everyone deserves to feel good in the body that they have right now. And we don't get that as fat people. We don't get it. A lot of focus is on fat women. And I do agree, as someone who has been perceived as a fat woman for most of my life, it's tough. Like, especially to find cheap clothes for overweight women, I believe, is a little more difficult than to find it for men. But even as a man, I deserve to feel good in my body. And I don't know, it makes me depressed. One thing that's brought up in trans spaces and that I've thought about a lot is that I am 95% probably going to have to lose a considerable amount of weight in order to get top surgery. I don't know if there are any surgeons in the US who will do top surgery on someone with a BMI of 58. Okay? I don't know. I am trying to be better. I don't like to talk about my intentional weight loss because I know that's a trigger to a lot of people, and I don't believe that weight and health are correlated. I don't believe any of that shit, but it's still something that I personally would feel more comfortable in my body if I weighed less. So I'm doing it for me, not just for my health, but like for my own self-love, So I understand that I'm not going to be at this weight for the rest of my life, that I will be able to get top surgery. I'm not worried that I'm not going to be able to get top surgery. It's just, how much effort am I going to have to put into this, and for how long? And I've tried to look up the science. Like, I think it's mostly anesthesia that they worry about. But I also think that doctors and anesthesiologists should get more practice in practicing on fat people. Like, there are enough fat people. Like, do the work, do the research, find out how to help those people, as opposed to saying you are barred from this until you get to a certain BMI, until you lose a certain amount of weight. That's not fair. It's not fair. At me. It's not fair. But I'm worried that, like, it's going to be years before I'm able to get top surgery because I am not going on a crash diet. I'm not doing it. I dieted my entire middle school, teenagerhood. I dieted all the time. And look where it got me. I don't need to put myself through that again. So it's disheartening. And I hope it doesn't take years and years for me to get top surgery for any reason, whether it's because of my weight or because of my insurance or because of the money, whatever it is. I hope I'm able to get top surgery sooner than later. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content, consider liking and subscribing. I put out new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. And yeah, have a great day. I'll see you next time. Mwah.